So it's 2020 and there is a ridiculous amount of camera talk. And to my left, you guys right, I have one of my all-time favorite cameras that I've ever purchased, the Panasonic GH5. And in today's video, we're gonna have a long-form discussion on why I truly believe this camera is something you guys should invest in, even in 2020, without breaking the bank, coming up next. So I really didn't want to get fancy with this video, and I really did not want to do anything that really kind of took focus off of the camera. So, Panasonic GH5 Micro Four Thirds camera released several years ago. Why in the world, with all the new camera talk, 8K, 6K, you name it, would somebody want to invest in a Micro Four Thirds system currently? And I'm really going to just talk about the features that I actually use. I do know there's plenty of other features that I'm not going to address, but I'm just going to currently talk about ones that I use, and I think that this camera offers that even some of the new cameras today are just now offering. Now, one thing that's an obvious is the flip out screen. Now, if you're a vlogger or you're maybe just a run and gun shooter like myself, man, I'll tell you one thing. I have the Canon 5D, which one is 5D Mark III, which was one of my very first expensive cameras, no flip out screen. Anytime you're in a situation where you're trying to get low angle shots, high angle shots, really anything kind of unique, it's a total pain in the you-know-what without the flip screen. So one of the most obvious things that the GH5 packed years ago, they did it in the GH4, they pretty much do it with all their cameras, it's going to be that flip out screen. It's a huge bonus for a camera that's several years old, and especially kind of like now an expectation for 2020 when it comes to cameras. Now another thing when it comes to resolutions, everyone wants 4K, and this bad boy packs a punch. 4K 60, which looks amazing, 4K 24, 4K cinema, 4K 30, you name it, you got 4K 10-bit. Anything 4K, I'm going to say for most prosumer level people and below, this camera, I highly doubt you're even going to be able to push it to its maximum. I would say, as someone that's been shooting on Panasonic GH series now for about 5 years, I still have not taken full advantage of this. Recorders, you name it, shooting raw, all that kind of stuff. Really, I just use what the camera spits out, and it still blows my mind on a day-to-day basis. Now, let's say that you're interested in slow motion. Well, like I said, you have that 4K 60 slow-mo, and then you have also the ability to go up to 180 frames per second at 1080p. I find myself never even really using that 180 frames. If anything, I probably stay in the 120, and then I shoot at 60, and then I experiment with some other frame rates. But that being said, it still packs a nice little punch even in 2020 when it comes to frame rates. I really think when you start getting in those numbers above 120 frames per second, unless you're actually filming something that's super high speed, I think 60 and 120 and even 30 frames is going to achieve most of what you guys are looking for. Other bonuses of this camera, full HDMI input, which is going to be nice for a lot of you guys out there running gun shooters, or honestly if you just find yourself in a pickle. A lot of times most people don't have mini HDMI, but they do have a true HDMI to HDMI. You're also going to have the ability to have multiple little presets, which this is a given for most cameras nowadays, but even when this came out, still super simple, bam, 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 I'm popping through all my camera settings or my profiles, and I have individually gone in there and set them. Now, the one thing that I do say this camera, and still to this day I think Panasonic's mastered IBIS, in-body image stabilization. Now on the Panasonic GH5, my goodness, I will tell you this, I actually bought a gimbal, the Weebill S or whatever, the Zhiyun Weebill, the newest one, and I'll be honest with you, it's on my shelf collecting dust, and it really boils down to handheld with this camera plus a lens that has image stabilization. The GH5 and the GH series cameras really are almost bulletproof when it comes to their IBIS, especially if you're even going to get crazy and pair it up with a native lens, one of the Lumix piece of glass, you're really going to get some image stabilization that is borderline gimbal-like. Now you get a little bit of wobbles on the wider lenses, but for the most part what it does allow you is to never not get a shot. So GH5 IBIS, unbelievable. Other things that you guys are going to really like when it comes to this particular camera, time-lapsing. Oh my gosh. Time-lapsing is so easy. Basically, we're just going to click over into photo mode real quick, come over to our knob over here, bam, 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 go into time-lapse mode, come here, tell it the seconds, how many photos, hit go, you're ready. So they've really made it dummy-proof in regards to that, and an upside is when you're done with your time-lapse, one button click, and then it's creating that time-lapse in a video format of your choice. So simple features that the GH5 packed years ago and still packs a punch in 2020. Also, dual card slots, SD, which is going to be nice, way ahead of its game. As far as battery life goes, many people are probably considered, like the Canons have good battery life, Sony's have been pretty garbage, but GH5 and the GH series, these batteries are amazing. I can't give a firm, like, exact amount of time how long these batteries last, but I usually find in most situations if I roll with 2 batteries, I'm pretty good for a long day's shoot. Now, obviously, I have more than 2, but 2 puts you in a situation where you're not going to be in a pickle. You know, so overall, this roughly, I mean, nowadays you can get this camera brand new, maybe like $1,400. I wanted to even say that you can get a used one now for almost around the like $1,100 range, and if you really want to search, you might even be able to go lower than that. But I've had the luxury over the years too. Now that we've kind of talked about what I really enjoy feature-wise of this, let's talk about some of the glass that I've had my hands on over the past couple of years. And we've got a couple of different options here for you guys. And the reason that I bring out all of these is more to give you guys a rundown of why I actually really enjoy Micro Four Thirds lenses. Now, we've got a couple extra adapters here on these, but these guys right here, Micro Four Thirds lenses. And if I take this off here, you can see how tiny that is. But I want to give you guys an insight into why, when it comes to kind of run and gun and travel situations, Micro Four Thirds cameras really kind of shine compared to some of these full frame cameras and the glass that comes with it. Now you guys have gotten a sense of how tiny these Micro Four Thirds lenses are, and the focal length for this particular lens right here is a 35 to 70. Now, that being said, I consider this like a telephoto or zoom lens, whatever you guys want to call it. And this gives me a lot of ability to be able to stand in one place, zoom in, get bird shots, get like long distance shots. Now, the equivalent on the Canon Mark III is going to be this. And this is why I travel with the Micro Four Thirds cameras typically. Look at that. Now, I'm not going to say these are identical focal lengths in regards to zoom range and things like that, but they almost achieve the equivalent. And now I know that you guys can't actually hold this in your hands, but weight-wise, yes, this has the body on there, and I know it's going to be heavier, but look at that. When I'm traveling, I always want to go with this. Do I get a better image out of this? Absolutely. This is for business. This is for pleasure. Now, there is a threshold when I will take this out instead of this. And like I said, it is business, but also it does mean a dollar sign. And I don't want to be carrying around gear that's literally going to make my back hurt. So depending on the situation, we might be going with the native glass, literally because it's just going to save my back, time, effort, and space. So that gives you a little bit of a gist of size-wise what we're looking at in regards to the full frame glass versus the Micro Four Thirds glass. Now, I did mention in the beginning, I shoot with the 24 to 105. Really just use this. This gives me a nice zoom range in regards to having this piece of glass on. I can kind of take it, run and gun situations, and I can get wide enough shots. I can zoom in enough, and it also gives me that f2.8. And, you know, maybe knocking it up to ISO 1600, and there's not many situations that I'm going to run into where I really can't film. So, you know, the GH5 2020, I still think packs a serious flipping punch, and I know that a lot of you guys are getting bombarded by the new Sony, by the new Canon. Look, nowadays, all these cameras are amazing. I can even take this Mark III, get the Black Magic or Black Lantern, whatever Magic Lantern, update on it, shoot raw out of it, and this camera is literally from like, I don't know, 2013, 2014. So, what is my point? I genuinely think we get caught up in too much of the new technology. I think we've reached this threshold now with iPhones, with cameras, with glass, and you name it, that everything has reached a certain point where it all looks good and amazing. So what does it boil down to? More so story. But today's video is really centered around what I would consider an amazing option for 2020 for a lot of you video shooters out there that are getting pushed the A7S III, you're getting pushed the Canon R5, the R6, you name it. Look guys, go ahead, watch more videos. Definitely watch more on my channel in regards to the Panasonic GH5 if you're interested, getting more insight on why you should purchase this camera, not only just for your needs, but in 2020 as well. So hey guys, it's Trey Lowell with Lowell Production, and as always, if you like the content I keep creating on this channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and if you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button, and I will see you guys in the next video. And I'm gonna need a beer after all that yapping.